Good morning. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene. And today we're talking about ideas for mystery games.
Woohoo! I've gone on the record saying that I think mystery games are some of the hardest sessions or adventures to run. But I was just thinking about the last at least 5-6 years post pandemic and even during pandemic that almost all of the games that I've run have been mysteries. Oh, for lack of to be more transparent and more specific, murder mysteries, since it's easier to give the characters something to do. So I was looking at like Aliens. That was kind of a mystery horror. Then I ran Blade Runner, which literally is a murder mystery because they're cops. And I recently wrote an adventure called Quinceañera, dealing with it's about a quinceañera, and that is a murder mystery in a Western time. So there you go. Maybe it's not so tough if I can do it.
Okay. The thing about murder mystery games is you have to give out clues and people have to figure out what's going on.
Right. Yeah, that's tough. That's really tough. for a multitude of reasons, right? I think my biggest problem, and I've noticed this in other people when they run a mystery game or when they give out clues, that sometimes the clues they don't understand or they can't get the clue, or two, they don't understand the clue.
Or they just decide that it means something else than what you told them. What you're trying to tell them.
Yeah, that does happen a lot.
So there are mystery games like Gumshoe is all about mysteries, right? That's what it's named, Gumshoe. But in that game, when you go to get a clue or whatever you want to call it, the next one of the facts that you need to know, they don't really have. Well, some guys said they didn't have a roll, but you do roll, right? And then depending on how well you roll, you get the regular clue. Then you can get a better, like more information, or if you roll really well, you can get even more information.
Well, the whole point.
Or you spend something.
The whole point of Gumshoe, which was written by, I forgot his name, of course. But anyway, he wrote the rules because he got tired of people running mystery games and the players and the characters getting stuck behind a roll that they cannot achieve because they miss a roll. They miss a spot roll, search roll, whatever roll it is, and then your game is stalled because the game can't go on to the next place where you can get more clues or whatever. And so when he came up with Gumshoe, he goes, you know what? If the characters make it to this spot,
they get a clue.
They just get the clue.
Right.
They can choose to roll, but every roll you have to spend some sort of I forget what it is, but you spend like a
luck or whatever they call it in that game.
I forget what it's called, but they spend points, and it diminishes. Those points diminish, so you have to use that. Meaningfully every time you want to use it. So you automatically get a clue. You could, if you want, as a character or player, roll to try to get a better clue, and that's where the chance comes in. But Robin D. Laws is the author and the creator, and so that is what he does, and that's why he called it Gumshoe. And every game under the Gumshoe rules, that's how it works with getting clues. You just give them a first clue, and there you go. So they don't get stuck. I think is the biggest
because
deal.
It's very frustrating when you're playing a game and you have all these clues and they don't make any sense to you, and you're like looking at each other and you're frustrated, and the GM is like going, well, I gave you all the clues. You should be able to put it together. And you're like, I don't know, maybe I got it all wrong or something.
Well, Gumshoe doesn't explain the rules. Doesn't explain the clues.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so that's that is a different. What is it? That's a different ball of wax when your clues don't make sense to your players. And I think this comes from the idea that when you come up with an adventure, and I do this, and it may not be a good idea, but I do it just because that's the way I work in my brain. I come up with an idea, and then I go, well, okay, this happens. These are clues, and they all kind of make sense or point to a certain thing or whatever in my brain. But not everybody's brain's the same, and people do not think alike.
And that's one of the advice things that people give you is if you want somebody to know this thing, make 3 clues that say the same thing, or not say the same thing, but 3 different ways to tell them this.
Oh yeah, the 3 clue rule, right?
Yeah. for each clue, you need to have 3 clues so that they may get to it. Because if a GM knows anything, is that the players never do what you think they're going to do, or come up with, if you're telling them that it was the person in the green cloak, so you have green cloak, and they're like, oh, well, there were 17 people with green cloaks, so let's go and check out the guy down the street. And you're like going, okay, I don't know why they picked that instead of what I wanted them to pick.
Right. And then that's just it, is that they're coming from a different place. Everybody does that because you don't know what they've experienced. You don't know how they think. Now, if you played with them for a long period of time, there might be. But I remember I ran a mystery game when I first started doing this. Oh, I ran Carnival Roll, which was mystery, which you guys were banging your head against the wall for quite a while. And I'm like, I don't see how I can make it more simpler or give them another clue that points in the right direction. And they were just in an impasse, right? They go, we don't know what this means. We don't know where to go. And I'm like, how can I not? And it was my fault too, right? Because as a GM, I'm like, I don't see how they're not getting it. And I think, and these are people I played for a long time, right? I played 30, 40 years with. And to me, I thought I hate saying this, I thought the clues were pretty simple and the conclusion simple, but obviously they weren't. They were simple to me because I wrote the adventure. And I think coming from a player perspective and put your shoes in the player's perspective could help, but that's really tough to separate yourself and say, well, if I was playing and I don't know what's going on, what does this little clue tell me? I'm like, I can't do that, right? I can't make myself forget.
So that's why that's what the 3 clue for a clue rule is, I guess, which is interesting. And maybe I don't know if it would work. I don't know if you've done that.
I've never done that.
Saul just puts out all the clues in different places, and when you get there, you get the clue, and then you got to put it all together, which isn't as easy as you would think. But there's certain things that you shouldn't do. Like, you shouldn't make it so they have to talk to the bartender to get the clue to go to the next place, to get the next clue, to go to the next place, because they're never going to, they might go to the next place, and if you're not going to give them that clue, then because they didn't do something else, right? It's not going to work.
Yeah, I think somebody on YouTube called it the breadcrumb trail, right? Yeah. That breadcrumbs go to A, breadcrumbs go to B, breadcrumbs go to C, and then they tell you who the murderer is or what happened. And they said that's not a real good way of doing it, because anytime they miss something in that link, they're stuck. Yeah. Right? We talked about it before, like puzzles, right? I don't like puzzles in games, because no matter how simple I think a puzzle might be, the players themselves may not understand how I think or why I think is simple, right? Somebody might think, well, if I put a quadratic equation on a piece of paper, most people will know how to solve a quadratic equation. They should be able to figure out the number, and that'll give them a key to, let's say, a freaking pin number or something. But that's if I was like a mathematician, I go, oh yeah, I did this when I was in 6th grade, and other people are going, what the heck is this, right? I mean, that's how literally it will look. Sometimes clues to people. You think it's easy, just solve the quadratic equation. You get the pin number, put it in the machine, and it'll spit out the murder weapon or whatever.
But some people are looking at that quadratic equation going, I don't know what this is.
I took consumer math in high school.
Algebra.
Yeah, I took consumer math in high school. I did. I took algebra when I was a freshman. I went down because somebody told me, oh, just take consumer math. It's super easy. Easy A. I go, yeah, okay. Sounds good. Stupidest idea, but hey, I was a teenager and I want to get easy classes. And consumer math, it was really basic, right? How to do simple interest, how to subtract and add big numbers, like your checkbook, how to balance a checkbook. It was really basic, right? None of those people in my class, except for me, because I took took algebra, would know how to solve a quadratic equation or even know what it was. Right? And so I'm not saying people who play are dumb, but I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is what you think is easy may not be easy for other people, or just like not easy, but almost like not even have to think about it, because they know, oh, wow, it's a quadratic equation. Let's solve it. No problem. Bada bing, bada boom. Not everybody has the same wealth of knowledge as you do, and some people may not have ever thought about stuff that you think is what everybody should know. It's just everybody, you can't think of it that way.
So when you make a mystery to play, if it's already made, there are clues, and you just have to kind of distribute them out. And you have to figure out, as the GM, you should gauge whether the people are going in the right direction or not. Should you, and if it's a pre-written adventure, you'll have to figure out how to get them all the clues so that they can figure out where they're going.
Right.
If you're making the adventure and you're putting out the clues, you should have an outline in your head, right? This person's dead. Okay. This person is the one that killed them.
Oh, yeah.
How do I get the player from seeing the person that's dead to figuring out who killed them?
Yeah.
And so there's different, obviously they have to be investigating it. So it's a group of people that see the murder or are asked to look at the murder.
Right.
And so you have to come up with why they're there. And then from there, you would have like ideas of, if they go and talk to this person, they're going to tell them this, and they're going to give them this clue.
Right.
And then if they go and talk to this person, they're going to tell them this, and they're going to find this clue. Or if they go and search the house where the person lives, there might be clues in the desk.
Of course.
There might be clues in different things, different places. So, but you have to give them those clues as to why is this person, why did someone kill this person? What was the motive, right? How did they kill him?
Yeah.
And so you might have to go to the coroner's office or something like that. Like,
or examine the body yourself.
Yeah, different things. And I played in his Quinceanera game that he talked about, and you want the clues to be straightforward. You want people to be able to look at it. Like, I think one of your groups didn't look at the back of the player.
They didn't look at the body.
At the body of the dead person. So they didn't see that he was shot. They just saw the fake bear claw or whatever it was.
Yeah, he has these massive knife wounds in his chest.
So, but since they didn't actually look at the body, then they never got that clue that he was shot, right?
Right.
They figured it out later on. So, but sometimes, like when I played in that game, we got sidetracked or we went off on a red herring, which Saul didn't intend for us to do.
No.
We went down the river, following the tracks of these horses, and we were like in actual time playing like for 2.5 hours, and didn't discover anything. So, because we went the wrong way, that wasn't what we were supposed to do.
Well. Yeah, I think as I ran that game, I've discovered, and basically I was playtesting it with you guys, right? It was the first time I even thought about running it. It was the first time running that system, which, by the way, is Tales of the Old West, made by the people who do the Effect podcast. So I was doing that. I got them on that. I wasn't a red herring because I wasn't trying to make them, but it was just my lack of understanding of what the players might do with the evidence or the information I gave them, and it wasn't clear enough. And then when I ran it again, the first time I ran it at the con, the players again were a little bit confused as to the tracks of the horse and what it meant. And I'm like, and it was just my inability to convey that message clearly. So by the time I ran it the second at the con and third and fourth time, it became much easier, and I got better at conveying that kind of information.
Right.
When I ran it this last time, it was crystal clear what was going on, and the players had no.
But that's why you play test stuff, right?
That's why you play test.
That's an idea if you're trying to
but
run.
But they didn't turn over the body, so they were. But they figured it out anyway, because I gave what it is I give them, maybe it was a 3-clue rule, right?
You gave them all kinds of different clues.
Different ways to get that information. Yeah. And I guess unknowingly and not on purpose, I did that. I gave them the 3-clue rule, 3 clues. But what I do is I kind of shotgun the idea of what clues they can find, what it points to, and so on.
Right. To just.
And as I've run it more and more, it's gotten better and better, and a lot of that just has to do with me being clearer and clearer and asking the players, what was good and what was bad, and then they'll tell me if I ask them. And I always want to do a feedback thing, but I always forget. And because we did an episode on feedback a while ago, but I've yet to settle down and do that. And then, but I do ask people I know, because some of the players are people are my friends, and so one guy goes, "I was really confused about what direction the horses came from." I'm like, "Okay, because yeah, that was I wasn't understanding," and I'm like, and I remember because they kept asking me, and I'm like, I would tell them, and then like, okay, this is not working. So the next time, I actually I still told them, but I curtailed my explanation, and I think they were still a little bit confused.
The simpler the clue, the better, right?
Then by the last time, I was like literally putting track marks on a playboard, and then it was like, oh yeah, okay. There was no question about where the horses came from, or who went where, or whatever. And I thought it was interesting that as you run the game, you became better at giving out the clues.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It will be an experience thing, especially if you're writing your own adventure.
Right.
Even with published adventures for things. I remember Felipe ran a game for us. It was a Victoriana.
Yeah.
And we were really frustrated because every time we got somewhere, the people were dead before we could get there to save them.
Yeah.
And we got really frustrated with that. Then later on, he goes, well, that's the way it was written. You were never supposed to be able to save those people. You were supposed to be able to, those were the clues to get you to where.
To the person killing. It was like a ghost or something.
But for us, we were like, oh my God, these people keep dying and we can't stop it.
Well, we were pretty good. We got the clue and we rushed to the, to where the next victim would be, and we get there and they had just like still freshly warm and everything. We're like, and so we rushed to the next place, not really fully investigating what happened and stuff. We got the clue where to go. We went, and yeah, Jolene was right. Every time we got somewhere, there was a dead body. We're like, we can't save anybody, and that wasn't the point of the game.
That wasn't the point of the game, because we were trying. We did finally figure out what the bad guy was or whatever.
I forgot who the bad guy was, but
I think it was a supernatural thing or something. And then, but the point is that sometimes your players might get frustrated but that was an already written adventure, right?
Yeah.
So there's not really anything you can do about that, but there are things you can do about ways to get the clues. Like one person said, you can't have all your clues be just perception or just investigate, you have to have things like lock picking or figure out what your players are, and if they have to roll a dice to get a clue, make sure there's different skills for being able to do that. Like the one I always think about is if you need to use a lockpick to open the door, your thief can do that.
Right.
But if your thief isn't with you, then the strong man in your group, whoever he is, the bruiser, can knock down the door so you can get through it.
Right.
So there have to be more than one way to get to the clue.
Correct. And more than one roll.
More than one,
get to the clue.
So that all the players have a chance to be able to do it. Because you don't want just, I have investigate. And so everybody just goes in a little group, right? And the investigator rolls the dice.
Or search.
Or just the thief has to pick the lock or figure out if there's a trap, different kinds of things. You don't want just one person being the one to find the clues.
Right. And diversify where the clues come from, right? That's what somebody talked about, that you just can't have the same thing over and over again. Oh, I do search. Okay, you find this. Okay, I go there. I do search. I find this. I find, and it's just search.
Make some of them talking to people.
What about the face guy who doesn't have search?
Yeah.
Talks to people. You maybe throw him a bone and have them be able to talk to somebody and get a clue that way, to be able to include everybody in the game. Otherwise, everybody just following one person.
Yeah.
I try to do that in my game. When I was writing the adventure, as I was writing the clues, or I would write in the text, make them roll this roll or this roll. And then almost every time I had something that they could roll, I would have at least another skill that they could roll to get the same information. I like that, and I think that does happen. Sometimes, like Gumshoe, I think if they have the skill, like
you should just give them the information. Yeah.
You go, you don't have to roll because you have medical, whatever it is.
And if they like to roll, let them roll and just give them the clue.
And give them more information, or even give them more information. Oh, you know what? This wasn't done by a bear. It was done by a blade.
And you don't want to hold back any clues, right?
No.
Because if they miss their roll, oh, this is what you see. And then if you would like to know more, you could roll again or something like that.
Well, like I said, just give them more ways to get to that clue.
Someone else can roll. You know, make sure they get the clue, because keeping the clue from them is not going to help them solve the adventure. Right. And then also, you never know. You don't want them to not get all the clues, because if they don't get the clue, then they're not going to know that information. Because even some of the clues they get, they might go off on their own red herring, even though you're not giving them one.
Right. Right. And I think sometimes people, even me, I was making this adventure, the Quinceanera one, and I'm like, okay, so if they get all these clues, they should be, but they may not get all the clues.
Right.
So you got to make your adventure or your mystery be able to be solved without all the clues that are available. So for me, what I did is I just shotgunned the place with clues all over the place, right? Because the adventure is is more fun. It's more fun if they solve it, and if they solve it on their own. Like I'm gonna say one that I've talked about all the time. I was running Dresden Files. It was based in Monterey, and these people kept getting killed, and they couldn't figure out who was killing them. Right? They knew it was a supernatural being because obviously it would come in the middle of the night and leave all kinds of seawater and all this other stuff. And I had given them all the clues, and they were just around the table, and they were just brainstorming. Right? They were just around the table talking to each other, and I'm like, I didn't want to give them the bad guy or whatever, because I thought it would lessen the adventure, right? It would lessen their fun, right? By not solving it. Oh, you gave us the answer. Some people might be happy just to know, but other people, most people, would rather get it themselves. And it was like, I was like, in my brain, I was like, what could I say to them? What could they do to find another clue? I had to make up another clue because they had all the clues that I had thought of or made. And so finally somebody just, boom, clicked it. And then everybody knew that was right. And I was like, man, guy, and I apologized to them. Man, I'm sorry. And they're like, no, you gave us all the good clues, and we just couldn't think of it. And everybody agreed, right? And it made sense. Well,
that's why it's a mystery, right?
Yeah, and it made sense to them. So I'm like, I blew out a breath of relief, because I thought it was just my bad construction of the adventure, and it was just something that just didn't click with them, and finally did. And I think they were like ecstatic when they figured it out.
Right.
Then they had to figure out how to get rid of it, but yeah, that was good. So I think having a bunch of clues that point to whatever solves the mystery, and you can, and some of those are not. It's not necessary to have all the clues to figure out the mystery, right?
Right.
They could.
Well,
figure
sometimes
out the
your players will talk to someone, and one of your NPCs will say whatever their spiel is, right?
Yes.
And one player will see it one way, one player will see it another way, and go, oh, I think we should go check this out because this is what I think. And it's always amazing to me that the players never do what the GM thinks they're going to do. I mean, like, you have it in your head, they're going to talk to this person, they're going to find this clue, and they're going to put it together that they know to go over here. Or and then they'll find something else, and that'll bring them to figure out that Mary May was the one that killed. Right. Sometimes they don't do that. Sometimes one guy will go, oh, I think it's her. And you're like, how did they figure that out, right? Without
where's that point? Yeah. No, I agree. Like I said, you as a GM, you can never figure out. You can't predict how
what your players are going to do.
Processed. Yeah. And I think that's why you give them a bunch of clues, and they don't all necessarily have to be solved or gotten or received or interpreted right to get to the mystery or solve the mystery.
And we played Brindlewood Bay.
That changed a lot for me after we played that.
There's a couple things that from Brindlewood Bay, I like the idea of a list of clues. Like if you're writing an adventure, put your list of clues there for people. Oh, right?
That's a good idea.
Then they can, not for the players, but for the person running it, for the GM, so that they can go, oh, these are the clues that I need to give out. Whether they're going to solve the mystery. Brindlewood Bay is a little different because you are creating the solution as you're getting the clues, right? You're making it up. But running a regular mystery, someone's dead and you have to figure out who did it, then if you have the list of clues that you're giving out available to the GM, then they can check them off as they give them out. And it doesn't necessarily have to be they have to talk to this person to get this clue. When you talk to this person, they give them this clue.
Right.
That kind of thing. And the other thing that I thought about, I think I saw this somewhere on YouTube, but the idea that if you're doing a mystery game, especially like a detective mystery game, maybe bring a whiteboard with you, or they have those Post-it notes, those big Post-it note white sheets that you can write on. So, because a lot of people, that helps them, the visualization for a mystery.
Yeah.
And you always see it on cop shows and stuff. They have the board, the murder board there with who the suspects are and and then they're drawing lines to it or different kinds of things.
That's really good. I mean, the physicalness of the whiteboard, Jolene has mentioned it before to me. Oh, maybe we should take a whiteboard out, and I kind of dismissed it. I go, well, I'm already taking a bunch of crap. I don't want to go find a whiteboard or buy one. But you could just use a mat, but a mat on the table doesn't have that same effect that everybody can look at this easel or just hang it on a desk or something, or put on a desk.
On it, yeah.
And then just have it there. And I think that you're right. Some people are visual information.
It helps them,
right?
Yeah.
It helps them understand things and put things in perspective or whatever. And I think that's an excellent idea. I haven't done it yet, but in the next game that I run, I'll definitely have a whiteboard, and I think I could have like Post-it notes or even like just pictures of the bad guys.
I always,
like that.
If you've ever watched Death in Paradise, it's like they have they don't even have a big whiteboard. It's like a little easel thing, and they put on who the suspects are, and then they got to figure out all the different things, right?
Well, I saw it too on that show with the
High Potential.
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah,
and I think it's a good idea. I think it's just anything that'll kind of help you, will help the players. Any way it would help, then I think that's a good idea. What was I going to say about the Brindlewood Bay? Now, I didn't like the idea when I first heard of it. I heard reviews about it that you don't really solve the mystery. You get all these clues, and then the players piece together how these clues are relevant to the mystery. And then the GM, once they have
there's a role that the players have to make too.
Yeah, but the players decide, okay, we've solved the mystery, right?
We have 5 clues. We know what's going to happen.
And this is what happened. And if the GM says if it's plausible, or if he likes the story, or they like the story, then you get a roll. And depending on how many clues you find,
you get extra die.
You get extra bonus points or whatever. And then you roll a die, and then if you're successful, the mystery's solved, and you win the game. If you can win a role playing game. Yeah. You solve the mystery. And when I heard about it, I go,
well, that doesn't make any sense. They're going to have to figure out what happened on their own without me knowing what happened.
Yeah, and as a GM, I thought it was like shortchanging the players, because like they're not really solving the mystery.
But when you play the game, it's totally different, because unless your GM gives you a rat inside of the stomach of something.
No, the mouth of a fish.
The mouth of a fish, and you're like, I don't know what to do with that. But you have to be able to put all the clues together, and it's very cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, I like the aspect of how the clues are given, and that you like the GM has to have all these things on a list. And I think that
there is a list, because Bay showed me you can see the list because the clues, there was a list of all the clues that could be given out, and then like he would either roll. No, we don't see it. Yeah. Just the GM sees it, and then he would roll a die and go, "Okay, we'll go with that clue."
Yes.
And then that's how we got the rat in the fish's mouth thing.
Yeah, it's kind of random. I didn't think I would like it, but I really found it. I really got into my role. I really liked the idea. I've watched Heart to Heart too much when I was a kid, and I really brought up my Stephanie Powers on in that one. So I was having a lot of fun. My fellow players were absolutely great. And I just had a lot of fun. And I think it was very interesting. I like the idea. I like the game. I don't know if I would like running that game, because, like I said, I like the idea of having players solve my mystery. I get a lot of satisfaction that I wrote something, makes sense, and they solved it.
Well, and I think that's good for you, but for some people, it might be a little harder to figure out all the clues to give out. So there's lots of published adventures, right? The mystery adventures.
Right.
Some might be good, some might be bad, but in the system that you run, I'm sure, and a lot of times, even just playing D&D, a lot of the stuff we do is solving a mystery, right?
Figuring something
You
out.
have to figure out something and figure out who the bad guy is, where he is, and all that kind of stuff.
That's true.
So it's a lot of role playing is doing that kind of thing,
Right.
using your brain to solve the mystery, and you're telling the story as you go.
They talked about a clue map. Somebody, but I didn't really look into that one. It looked a little bit too, what is it?
A little bit too railroady that you have to go.
Well, I didn't even get that far. It seemed like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right. And I liked it.
To
I liked
plot
the
it
idea
out.
a whiteboard. I liked the clue map, and I thought it was just, you put clues on a board and you kind of just make connections to each clue or where you get those clues. But the person had a very interesting system. So I think the clue board was a kind of interesting idea. I just didn't look into it enough to really be able to talk about it. But I like the idea of visually putting the clues on a board, like on a whiteboard, and just you yourself as a GM connecting those clues together and see how they connect and give you a better
If it brings you to the person who did it or whatever the mystery is. Yeah. If you can get to the conclusion, maybe your players can.
Or, visually, right? If it makes sense to you in visual. What I was going to say. The idea of a mystery that the way to solve the mystery isn't preset, like the one in Brindlewood Bay, is interesting. The idea of no set, there was something to solve, and in flashback, you kind of figure out who did it and why. Like in Brindlewood Bay, I didn't think it would be that exciting or that fulfilling, but it actually was. So I think you could use some sort of a system like that, even if you have the mystery set solved in a way that you wrote down. You can have those kind of elements that they may solve the mystery, but not in a way that you thought they might.
And you might be okay with that?
And I would be okay with that. And let that happen.
I can see that, where you give them all the clues and they come together and they're like, okay, this is the clues.
Even if they get the clues wrong, right? Like the meanings
But
of the clues.
but then the players come up with who did it.
Yeah.
I could see that as after playing Brindlewood Bay, I could see that as a very interesting way to do it, because it doesn't have to be, the mystery doesn't have to be solved the way that it's written.
Right.
Which is the way role-playing games work, right? You're creating the story as you go. Right. So, I don't know. I think a lot of GMs would have a problem with that, because this is who died and this is who killed them, and you need to get there, right?
But as long as you get there,
as you get there, maybe it wasn't Mary May. Maybe it was Jessica or somebody.
Yeah. What I was thinking is, like, sometimes they'll pick up on something that you never intended to be a clue, or a red herring, but they jump on it, they latch onto it, and for them, it makes sense to them that it solves the mystery.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying change the mystery like who did it, but if it points to the person that did it, let's say,
then go for it.
Who cares? Or you hadn't thought of it, or you really didn't include it,
right?
And you're like, oh, okay. That works.
That works, right?
That works, right?
Yeah.
And you got to be a little bit improvisational.
Well, as
GM,
a GM,
to be able to figure that out.
Well, as a recent GM that we played with told me when we were playing the One Ring, he said, I wasn't prepared for this because you guys didn't do anything that I had thought you were going to do, but I just went with it and just improvised as we went, right?
Yeah, that was tough because so it wasn't a murder mystery or anything.
That was just us.
That was just us being goofy. So,
it wasn't even that. We might have. I don't know.
So my friend Bay was running the One Ring, and toward the end of the session, something had happened. Right, these dwarves had been massacred, and
we had gone and talked to a guy and got all these clues from the guy that was helping the Rangers.
Right,
and we decided that this was the way to go. And Bay's like, I guess Bay's like going, why are they going this way? Because this isn't none of the things led us this way.
Well,
but it did to us.
The thing was the thing I thought was funny is that these dwarves, some of the dwarves had been taken captive, and then we were all talking, and then I think one of us wanted to go after the dwarves, and we're like, no, there's 5 of us against 50. There's no way we're gonna win. It's just ridiculous. Blah blah blah. Right? And then everybody around the table said this one player was like, I really think we should go after that, and everybody shot it down. So to the GM, Bay. You go, okay, they're not going to do that. That's ridiculous. There's 4 people against 1. So we stopped. That was at the end of the game. We were just talking in there where we might
go a month later when we meet up again.
So we could talk a month later. We go, okay, so we're not going after the doors. And then the I think it was Cowie, right?
Yeah.
Cowie goes, we should go after the doors. I go, we go like.
And I go, yeah, we should, Cowie. We should definitely go after the doors.
And then they used the game against us, right? So they're like, I'm like, well, I don't think we have snowballs.
It's a suicide mission.
I don't think we have. Yeah, it was a suicide mission, right? There was no way we could win. Blah blah blah. Everything was against us. And then, but then she goes, well, what role do you play? Or what is your calling? I'm a warder or something like that. Oh yeah, you're supposed to defend the people. And I'm like, yeah. I go, you're right. And I wasn't me, the player, because the player said, hell no, I wouldn't go. But my character, yeah. If there's a chance, we should take it. So Bay had not prepared for us to go after the dwarves because we had already decided we weren't going after the dwarves. We're going to go up to the Blue Mountains and talk to those dwarves. And so he goes, he didn't say anything till afterwards, right?
He didn't say anything.
He's like, man, he goes, you guys really threw me for a loop. What we're talking about? He goes, you guys are saying we're not going to go after the dwarves. And then what do? You go after the damn dwarves. So I think players.
So, but I think that's a good example of. It doesn't matter what game you're running, but especially if you're running a mystery game, your players are not going to do what you think they're going to do. So you should be prepared for that. However, you can be prepared.
Even if they tell you they're not going to do something, they still might do it.
So that's just the way that role playing goes, right?
Yeah.
A role playing game goes.
Yeah, so be prepared, like the Boy Scout motto. So I think there's certain things that you can help your players. I love the idea of the whiteboard, the 3-clue rule, even though I don't officially use it. I kind of use like 2-clue rule or multiple clues to get the same information,
right?
And lead you in that direction.
Having more ways to get that clue by rolling different skills if you have to roll to get the clue.
Yeah, let everybody have a chance of rolling something.
Yeah,
because having one person do all the rolls, it's an investigation game, so I guess we'll just investigate. That is not fun.
No.
So and then have more clues than you need to solve the mystery. Because if you need every single clue, let's say you need 10 clues to solve it, you think it's 10 clues to solve it, and that's all you have, and they don't get 1 or 2, and they're not too sure about 1 or 2, you're like, they may not be able to get there. But if you have 15 clues, and you only need 10 out of 15 to sort of get there, I think.
And some groups might only need 5 of those clues to figure it out, and some groups may need 20.
Yes.
But
right.
It just depends on which way they're going. And sometimes you can just let it flow. I like the idea of letting it go however they get to it, right? And maybe it's not exactly what you thought was going to happen, but okay, there you go.
Right. Yeah, that does happen.
So you have to be flexible as a GM. You don't be too stuck in everything has to happen a certain way.
Correct. Or it doesn't have to happen a certain way.
And say that they're really set on it was the butler that did it, and the butler had nothing to do with it, but you get through the whole 4-hour session and they're absolutely positive it's the butler.
Especially if it makes sense with the clues that they found.
The way that they decided that the clues fit together, they know it's the butler, but you have written down that it's somebody else. But just, okay, it's the butler.
Well,
you can let them because they put all this work into it,
right? And
they have discovered that it's the butler, and you're like, well, maybe it is the butler.
Yeah, because maybe I got it wrong.
I must have got it wrong.
I'm like, man, and that's what I was going to say something about space opera. There was a way I thought the adventure would end, or what was going on, and the players had a totally different idea of what was going on. I'm like, okay,
this is even better.
And I just kept feeding them what they were investigating or what they were looking at. And I'm like, yeah, that's a totally better story than I had, because mine was a very basic one, and there was a much more convoluted and more mysterious and more conspiratorial. I'm like, yeah, and they were having fun. And then when they got to the end, I go, well, I don't know how this game's going to end, because I don't know what they're up to. And then when it did end, it was such a satisfying end. I'm like, wow. And it was funny. I gotta admit, I lied. They go, well, how do we do? I go, you guys did great. Just what I thought you guys would do. Yeah, right. I had no clue what you guys were doing. So I think that's a good idea. Is don't get so stuck on the idea that who you planned was the murderer. Let's say murder mystery, and they come up with somebody else. but the clues that they put together and how they put it together makes sense,
then
it's all. It could be probable that it was the butler.
Because the clues pointed for that group of people to the butler.
Yes.
But you didn't have it written down that way. You didn't think they pointed that way, but they came up with it on their own. It's a good ending. Somebody had to kill the guy, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So that's what Brindlewood Bay kind of helped me understand, that don't be so tied to your storyline, because they are playing in it. And if, like I said, if they're convinced and it makes sense, and if it makes sense, I'm like, well, just because they didn't interpret a rule of a play or information the way you would have, doesn't mean that they're wrong.
Right. So there you go.
There you
Good
go.
luck. Mysteries are hard.
Playing them is fun, though.
Yes, it is. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene.
And you have a good day.